I'm Jenna Walsh, 34, and I thought my family had my back. My parents called last week, said our Hawaii trip was off. Money was too tight. I believed them, no questions asked. I'd spent months planning it, flights, rooms at the Moana Surfrider, all on my card, thinking we'd reconnect after a rough year. But 3 days later, my little sister's Instagram stories hit me like a truck. There they were, my mom, my dad, her dog, in a stupid Hawaiian shirt laughing by the Waikiki pool. Not a single text, not a word about me. They lied, used my money, and left me out like I was nothing. My hands shook as I stared at my phone, their smiles burning into me. How could they do this? I wasn't going to cry or call them out, not yet. But what I found out next made their betrayal so much worse, and I was ready to make them pay. Before I show you how they stabbed me in the back and how I hit back even harder, tell me, what time is it, where you are, and which city are you watching from? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And don't forget to subscribe, because trust me, you won't want to miss the ending. A year ago, my life turned upside down. My ex-husband Matthew sat me down after dinner one night in our Portland apartment and said he was done. No warning, no fight, just a flat. I can't do this anymore. He packed a bag, left his keys on the counter, and walked out. I didn't beg or chase him. I just sat there staring at the half-eaten lasagna, wondering what I'd missed. We'd been married 5 years, built a life together, weekend hikes, late-night coding sessions for my software engineering job, even stupid arguments over who forgot to buy milk. But he was gone, and the silence in our apartment was louder than any fight we'd ever had. I spent months replaying every moment, trying to figure out what went wrong, but I got no answers. Just a divorce agreement in the mail and a hole in my chest that wouldn't close. That's why I needed this Hawaii trip. Not for the beaches or the sunsets, but for a chance to feel like myself again. I'd been carrying my family for years, paying mom and dad's phone bills when dad retired, covering my little sister's car payments when she blew her marketing job bonuses on who knows what. I'm good with numbers, always have been, so I set up a shared account for family expenses, thinking it'd make things easier. When I pitched the idea of a family vacation to Waikiki, everyone jumped on board. Mom said it'd be like old times, Dad promised to grill fish like he used to, and my sister swore she'd plan activities. I booked flights, reserved rooms at the Moana Surfrider, fancy enough to feel special, but not break the bank. I even used my reward points to upgrade mom and dad's suite, figuring they deserved a treat after their lean years. It was my way of pulling us together, of healing the cracks in my own heart while giving them something to smile about. Planning that trip became my lifeline. After Matthew left, I threw myself into work, pulling 12-hour days to keep my mind off him. But at night, when the coding stopped, the emptiness crept in. I'd scroll through the old photos, family barbecues, my sister's high school graduation, even Matthew laughing at Dad's bad jokes. The trip was supposed to be a reset, a way to rebuild those memories without him. I spent weeks coordinating schedules, picking restaurants, even making sure the hotel had a dog-friendly room for my sister's spoiled pup. Every detail was on my card, flights, deposits, even a snorkeling tour I knew Dad would love. I didn't mind. I thought we were in it together, that they'd have my back like I'd always had theirs. Then last week my phone rang. It was Dad, his voice low, like he was breaking bad news. "Jenna," he said, "we're gonna have to postpone the trip. Money's tight right now, and we just can't swing it." I didn't push back. I'd seen their bills pile up before, knew how hard it was for them, since Dad's pension barely covered the mortgage. Mom got on the line, echoed the same story, said they'd make it up to me later. I told them it was fine, we'd figure it out, maybe next year. I hung up, disappointed but not angry. Families hit rough patches. Right. I trusted them, believed their story about the budget, even felt a little guilty for not offering to cover more. I went back to my laptop, closed the travel app, and tried to focus on work. I had no idea what they were really doing with my money or how deep their lie went. 3 days after that moment, my world flipped upside down. I couldn't shake the fire in my chest. I'd trusted Mom and Dad bought their whole story about canceling our Hawaii trip because of budget troubles, but something felt off. I grabbed my laptop, opened the travel wallet app I'd set up for the family, the one tied to my personal card, the one I thought we'd agreed to share for the trip. The screen loaded and my breath caught. The transaction stared back at me like a punch to the gut. A spa package at the Moana Surf Ritter booked under my sister's name, Lauren, for $450. A private catamaran tour for $700 with her name again. A dinner at an upscale Waikiki steakhouse, $320, plus a $90 tip that could have covered my rent for a week. And it didn't stop there. $200 for beachfront yoga sessions, $150 for a luau show, even $80 for a fancy dog grooming session for her spoiled pup. My money was fueling their dream vacation while I sat alone in Portland thinking we were all in the same boat. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the charges, each one a fresh cut. Lauren's name was everywhere: her massages, her cocktails, her luxury tours. Mom and Dad weren't just tagging along, they were letting her run wild with my account. I didn't call them, didn't send a frantic text demanding answers. The numbers told the whole story. They'd lied, used me, and left me out like I was nobody. My anger burned hot, but I kept it tight, focused. I wasn't going to let them walk all over me. I opened the app's security settings, found the freeze account option, and clicked it. Every dollar they thought they had gone in an instant. Then I logged into the travel agency portal where I'd authorized payments for their hotel rooms. I canceled the payment for their Moana Surfrider bookings with one click. An email popped up: payment declined. Contact the cardholder immediately. I pictured them standing at the front desk, their key cards useless, and a sharp satisfaction hit me. My phone started buzzing an hour later. Dad's name flashed across the screen, followed by a flood of all-caps texts. "Jenna, why is everything declined? We can't pay for anything. Stranded in paradise." They were living like kings 3 days ago. I didn't reply. Then Mom's message came through, her words sharp and accusing. "You're being so selfish, Jenna. We needed this break, and you're ruining everything. Selfish." For stopping their party on my dime. I almost laughed at how twisted that was. Then Lauren texted, her tone dripping with entitlement. "You're making us look like idiots, Jenna. Fix this now." Making them look like idiots. They'd played me for a fool, and now they were scrambling. I opened Venmo, typed in Dad's name, sent $1 and added a memo. "Enjoy your paradise." I hit send and turned off my phone. The quiet felt right, but I wasn't done. They thought they could pin this on me, but what they did next showed just how far they'd go to keep their lie alive. The next morning, my phone was quiet, but the sting of their texts still burned. I'd frozen their access to my money and pulled the plug on their hotel payments, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. My cousin Monica pinged me on WhatsApp with a single line: "You need to see this." Attached were screenshots from our family group chat, the one I'd muted months ago because Mom's endless recipe links and Dad's fishing photos were too much. I opened the images and my stomach twisted. There it was, a thread of messages painting me as the villain. Mom had written Jenna's struggling after her divorce, acting out because she's jealous of Lauren's happiness. Jealous of Lauren. The same sister who'd racked up hundreds of dollars in spa treatments and cocktails on my card. Dad chimed in. "She needs to get over herself. We just wanted a break." Even worse, my ex-husband Matthew was in the chat, adding, "She's always been dramatic. Let her cool off." Matthew, who'd walked out on me a year ago, was now siding with them, knowing full well they'd lied to me. I scrolled further, my jaw tightening. Mom's next message hit harder. "Jenna needs help, Linda says. She's not thinking straight." Linda. That's what they called her in the chat, like she was some wise elder instead of the woman who'd just called me selfish for cutting off their free ride. Lauren jumped in with her own spin. "She's just mad because I'm living my best life. living her best life with my money while I sat home believing their budget sob story. The audacity made my blood boil. Monica's message followed the screenshots. I couldn't believe they'd say this, Jenna. I had to show you. I typed back a quick thanks and stared at the screen. They weren't just using me. They were spinning a story to make me look unhinged, like I was the problem for standing up to their lies. I didn't cry or call them out. I'd learned from locking their wallet that actions spoke louder than words. They'd been leaning on me for years, not just for the Hawaii trip, but for everything: phone bills, car insurance, even random streaming subscriptions I'd forgotten about. I pulled up my bank's online portal and started digging. Sure enough, I found 2 joint accounts I'd set up ages ago when Dad's pension wasn't enough. One covered their cell phone plan, $80 a month for 3 lines, including Lauren's. The other was tied to their car insurance, $120 monthly, because Lauren kept missing her payments. I was done being their ATM. I logged into the phone carrier's site, removed my card from the autopay, and transferred the account to Dad's name. Then I called the insurance company, canceled my authorization, and let them know the policyholder would need to update their payment method. By noon, both accounts were out of my name, and they'd have to figure out how to cover their own bills. My phone lit up again that afternoon. Lauren texted first, her words sharp. "You cut off our phones." "Are you serious?" I didn't reply. Then Mom sent a voice message, her tone softer but still manipulative. "Jenna, we're worried about you. This isn't like you. Let's talk." Worried about me? They were worried about their free perks disappearing. I saved Monica's screenshots and sent her a quick message. "Keep me posted if they say anything else." I wasn't going to confront them yet. Not over text. Not when they could twist my words again. They thought they could paint me as the jealous, broken one, but I was seeing them for who they really were. Matthew's silence in all this cut deep too. He'd known about their plan, sat in that chat, and said nothing to warn me. I wasn't just done with their lies, I was done carrying them. What I did next would make sure they felt the weight of their own choices. 2 days after those group chat messages burned into my mind, I couldn't stay silent. Their words, calling me jealous, unstable, in need of help, kept replaying like a bad song. I'd frozen their travel wallet, cut off their phone and insurance payments, but that wasn't enough. I needed to face them, see their excuses crumble in person. I grabbed my keys, drove 20 minutes from my apartment to my parents' house in Portland, and parked in their familiar driveway. Mom had texted that morning, all sweet and casual, inviting me for a family dinner to catch up. I knew it was a trap to smooth things over, maybe beg for their accounts back. But I wasn't there to compromise. I was there to end this. I stepped into their dining room, the same one where we'd shared countless Sunday roasts. Mom was arranging plates, humming like nothing had happened. Dad was slicing a roast, his knife steady, but his eyes avoiding mine. Lauren lounged at the table, scrolling on her phone, barely glancing up. The air was heavy, but I held my ground. I set my bag down, took a seat, and waited until they were all settled. Mom tried to ease into small talk, something about her book club, but I cut her off. "Let's talk about Hawaii," I said, my voice sharp and clear. Their movements froze. Lauren's phone dropped to her lap, and Dad's knife paused mid-cut. They knew this wasn't going to be a cozy catch-up. I didn't hold back. "You told me money was tight, that we couldn't afford the trip. I trusted you, canceled my plans while you were living it up at the Moana surf reader, charging thousands to my card." I let the words hang, watching their faces. "Then I find out you're spreading lies, telling everyone I'm falling apart, jealous of Lauren acting out because of my divorce." Mom's lips tightened, but she stayed quiet. "I saw the group chat," I said, staring her down. "You called me unstable, said I needed help. You used my money, lied to my face, and then painted me as the villain." Lauren rolled her eyes, tossing her hair. "You're making a big deal out of nothing, Jenna," she said. "It was just a vacation. You didn't have to ruin it for us." I turned to her, my voice like steel. "Ruin it? You spent thousands of my dollars, spa treatments, boat tours, fancy dinners, while I sat home thinking we were all broke. And you call me dramatic, Dad tried to step in, his tone gruff. Jenna, settle down. We just needed some time away. I cut him off. Time away with my money, without even telling me. You didn't invite me because you knew I'd call out your lies. Mom finally spoke, her voice soft but dripping with manipulation. Jenna, we didn't ask you to come because you've been so fragile since your divorce. We thought you weren't ready for a trip. Fragile. Her words were a cheap shot, twisting my pain to justify their betrayal. I leaned forward, my hands steady on the table. You don't get to decide what I'm ready for. You don't get to use my money, lie to me, and then tell everyone I'm the one who's broken. I looked at Dad, then Lauren, my voice unwavering. You knew exactly what you were doing, and you didn't care who you hurt. I stood up, pushing my chair back. I'm done carrying you. No more phone bills, no more insurance, no more covering for Lauren's reckless spending. I'm done. Mom reached out, her voice pleading. Jenna, don't do this. We're family. I shook my head. Family doesn't betray like this. Family doesn't steal from each other. I grabbed my bag and walked out, their silence echoing behind me. They thought they could guilt me into staying, but what I found out next showed me their betrayal went far deeper than I'd imagined. A week after I stormed out of that family dinner, leaving their excuses hanging in the air, my phone lit up with a text from my cousin Monica. I hadn't heard from Mom, Dad, or Lauren since I'd called them out, and I had no plans to reach out. Monica's message was short but chilling. Jenna, it's worse than you think. Call me now. My stomach dropped. I dialed her number and her voice was tense, like she was scared to say it. They used your name, she said. Not just for the trip, but for loans to bankroll Lauren's spending. Loans I'd ignored, some credit alerts thinking they were junk mail, but now my heart raced. Monica said she'd heard Mom and Lauren laughing about how they'd paid for Lauren's new wardrobe and parties using my credit. I needed to see the damage for myself. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and pulled up my bank's online portal. My hands shook as I accessed my credit report. The screen loaded, and there it was, 3 unauthorized loans in my name staring back like a betrayal carved in stone. The first, taken out 8 months ago, was for $12,000 linked to an account I didn't know. The second, 4 months old, was for $18,000 with Lauren's email tied to the application. The third, a gut-wrenching $30,000, listed Mom as a co-signer. My credit score, which I'd worked years to keep spotless, was crumbling. I clicked through bank statements and saw the truth: payments to high-end boutiques, charges for $3,000 at a jewelry store, even a $600 tab for a rooftop party Lauren had thrown. My money wasn't just funding a vacation, it was propping up her entire lifestyle. My anger was ice-cold, sharp, and focused. This wasn't just about a trip or rumors they'd stolen my identity to keep Lauren in designer clothes and VIP booths. I thought of Mom's fake concern at dinner, Dad's gruff deflections, Lauren's smug eye rolls. It all clicked. They didn't just want my money for Hawaii. They wanted me as their personal ATM. I opened my email and started a report for the bank's fraud department. I attached screenshots of the loans, the unfamiliar account details, and a statement explaining Monica's tip about their scheme. Then I called the bank's fraud hotline, my voice steady, as I demanded they freeze every account tied to my name. The agent confirmed they'd lock it all down and launch an investigation, but I knew that wasn't enough to stop them. I reached out to a lawyer I'd trusted during my divorce, someone who knew how to navigate family messes. I sent her everything: the credit report, the loan details, Monica's texts, and asked her to draft a legal letter to the bank and local authorities demanding a full probe into the identity theft. The letter, which I reviewed that night, was airtight. Jenna Walsh has discovered unauthorized loans in her name, linked to Linda Carter and Lauren Carter without her consent. I added a request to close all accounts tied to my identity immediately. Sending that letter felt like cutting a chain I hadn't known was there. They'd used my name like it was theirs to spend, but I was taking it back piece by piece. Monica texted again later, her words heavy with guilt. I should have told you sooner, she wrote. Lauren was showing off a new bag saying it was free because of your credit. I thanked her for speaking up and asked her to save any proof she could. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about their greed, their willingness to throw me under for Lauren's flashy life. I leaned back, staring at my laptop, knowing the bank's investigation would unravel more than they expected. They'd thought they could keep me in the dark, but what came next would expose their lies to the core, and I was ready to let the truth hit them hard. 6 months after I sent that legal letter, my phone stayed silent. No calls, no texts from Mom, Dad, or Lauren. The quiet was a relief, but it also confirmed what I'd suspected: they'd only reached out when they needed something from me. My cousin Monica was the only one who kept in touch, and last week she sent a message that painted a grim picture. "They're struggling," she wrote. "Lauren's drowning in debt, and your parents can't cover their bills anymore. Apparently, without my money propping them up, their financial house of cards was collapsing." Lauren had maxed out her credit cards, trying to keep up her lavish lifestyle: new shoes, brunches, weekend trips, and now collection agencies were calling. Mom and Dad were behind on their mortgage, scrambling to make ends meet without my support. I felt a flicker of pity, but it faded fast. They'd made their choices, lying about the Hawaii trip, spreading rumors about me, even stealing my identity to fund Lauren's spending sprees. Monica said Lauren was dodging creditors, her social media now filled with vague posts about hard times instead of designer bags. Dad had taken a part-time job at a hardware store, and Mom was selling old furniture online to scrape by. Then a letter arrived in my mailbox, handwritten from Linda Carter. It was the first I'd heard from Mom since our confrontation. "Jenna, we're sorry," it read. "We didn't mean to hurt you. We were just trying to keep the family together." She mentioned their struggles, hinting they could use help: $1,000 to cover a late mortgage payment. The words were soft, but I saw through them. It wasn't an apology. It was another plea for cash. I didn't reply. I tossed the letter in the trash and sat with the truth: my family had never seen me as more than a tool, a bank account to tap whenever they needed. Every "we're family" speech was a leash to keep me tethered to their needs. I'd spent years believing I owed them my time, my money, my loyalty, because that's what family does. But family doesn't lie, steal, or tear you down to lift themselves up. That realization was heavy, but it was also freeing. I wasn't their safety net anymore, and I wasn't going to feel guilty for it. Instead, I decided to take a final step to reclaim myself. I filed paperwork to change my last name to Parker, my grandmother's maiden name, a name untainted by their betrayal. The process was simple: just a few forms and a court date, but when I walked out with Jenna Parker on my driver's license, I felt lighter than I had in years. I was no longer tied to the Carter name, to their lies, or their debts. I started building a new life, one where I set boundaries and chose who deserved my trust. Monica was still in my corner, the only one who'd been honest when it mattered. I got a new job, moved to a smaller apartment closer to downtown Portland, and started saving for my own trip, one I'd plan on my terms. I wasn't running from my past. I was stepping into a future where I came first. Looking back, the hardest lesson wasn't their betrayal. It was learning that family doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. I wish I'd seen it sooner, but I'm stronger for it now. To everyone who stuck with this story until the end, thank you for listening. Your support means the world. If this hit home for you, drop a comment below. Have you ever had to cut ties to protect yourself? Hit that subscribe button for more stories like this, and let's keep the conversation going. You're not alone in navigating tough choices, and I'm grateful you're here.